still dwelling there. And I think about being in prison. I think about being imprisoned. Mm-hmm. And when I say in prison, I don't mean like a physical prison. I'm thinking of a mental prison when you are imprisoned here. And so when you're imprisoned here, there's like a scale or scales that are on your eyes. You cannot see anything but where you are. There's a darkness, there's an isolation that is manifesting. And so here, forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. God wants to do a new thing. Mm-hmm. And so even when you go back to your analogy, if you have someone that is standing on the pier with this raft, this is a new thing. Mm-hmm. This is a new method. Let me show you something else to get you out of your predicament and push you. But guess what? That's uncomfortable. Because if I'm comfortable stuck, if I'm comfortable here in my brokenness and my hurt, and then you're telling me to elevate and you're telling me that you have something that can support me, then I'm like, oh my gosh, uncomfortable. So that fear comes in. You want to touch on that at all with the fear piece and being stuck with not wanting to come out or being afraid to come out of the brokenness?
Well, I think what's interesting about that is that a lot of people, or we as human beings, tend to a lot of people don't necessarily recognize that they're in a place of fear or brokenness. Mm-hmm. It's become the new normal.
Right.
You know, we're used to being, because I think initially you may be able to identify that you're afraid, but once you live in a state of fear or a constant state of discomfort, it becomes normalized. Mm-hmm. And I think we definitely, as human beings, get to that place where fear and discomfort is normalized, that healthy then becomes abnormal. Mm-hmm. And then we have to learn to be in healthy relationships, or that is the new thing, mm-hmm. right? And that could be a big challenge for us as we work for our health, mm-hmm. work for our healing, mm-hmm. work through the healing process.
I definitely agree with that. I want to go to something real quick in verse 19. Mm-hmm. It says, now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? And I think that it's interesting because we will pray a thing, right? And we will ask God for something. And if we go back to our healing, Lord, please heal me. Lord, please heal me from this hurt. Please heal me from this brokenness. Please heal me from this particular ailment or situation that I have. And then here now is springing up. So the opportunity for healing is coming up. The opportunity to be in healthy relationships is coming up. The opportunity to move forward is coming up. And then it's so unfamiliar to us. Like you said, that new normal. And I had to write that down, that new normal. It's so unfamiliar to us that we don't know how to move. So let's talk about this. How do we move forward when we have the new normal? And the way that we do that is we have to embrace it.
Well, I think we have to recognize the reality of it is that a part of embracing something is accepting the now. Mm-hmm. And a part of something now is to say, I'm uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. I don't think people want to say that. Mm-hmm. They want to say, no, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. Everything's great. My healing was not, it went off with a hitch. Yeah, no, very seldom is that truly the case. There's this popular quote that everybody started to use, and one of them is strength is pain leaving the body. Mm-hmm. You get strengthened as pain leaves, but when you're in pain, you're uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just important to be able to recognize that challenges come with prosperity, challenges mm-hmm. come with elevation, challenges come with healing, mm-hmm. And pain may only be an indication of a change.
Right.
It's the beginning, or it's to let you know that you are in a transition, that something is different, mm-hmm. versus that I'm broken, mm-hmm. that something's wrong with me because I'm feeling pain. And I think sometimes we misjudge right. and misunderstand the usefulness of pain, mm-hmm. right? And don't appreciate that it's uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It takes presence to deal with the discomfort of pain. Right. but it's the thing that makes us wonderful people. It's the thing that makes us resilient. It's the thing that gives us hope.
Right.
You know, you transition from, you know, from the brokenness or from the injured or from the wound to the place of healing, to the place of, you know, I feel better. I am better. I function and I move better. I produce better. I'm a better blank. Feeling like a better mother, a better friend. I'm a better mate. I'm a better pastor, you know, because I'm willing to deal with the parts of me that are not perfect, my imperfections. Right?
That's good. And I thought about something too. It's either the pain of change or the pain of staying the same.
Right.
It's one or the other. So sometimes we're in pain when there is a transition or a change that's needing to happen or happen in our lives, you know, and that is the part when we lean into that. So I think about going to the gym, right? So if I go to the gym, which I need to go back to the gym, but nevertheless, when the weather breaks, for real, I'm going back. But anyway, when we are going to the gym and we're working a new part of our body, right? That first day, you're going to feel that pain. You know, but what's happening is your muscles are being strengthened. You know, you're beginning, the blood is circulating because you might not have moved that arm or that leg for a minute. You know, it's been stuck like that for a while. So now you're transitioning and you're moving forward and you feel that discomfort. But the more you go to the gym, say you go consistently for a couple weeks, you may still have the pain initially. But what you begin to see is the pounds drop off. What you begin to see is you begin to see a difference in the inches and how your clothes fit and feel. And you begin to feel better about yourself. And so what is happening is when we are able to lean in and embrace that change, what we are experiencing is actually the healing process. We begin to experience the healing process. So moving forward, looking at the healing process, what do you think are some key steps to moving towards the healing process?
Well, I think the first thing is don't do it by yourself. You know, I think it's really important to understand that it's a journey that requires support, relationship. It requires knowledge and wisdom, and perhaps knowledge and wisdom that you don't have. I think what we misunderstand about healing is that physical wounds are a function of one person. If I have a physical wound, I can pack and heal and change. And then even some of those wounds you can't yourself. But relationships and spirit, mental, emotional healing is a function of two people. It doesn't occur in silos. It doesn't occur by yourself. It's not a one person process. It is only a process that occurs with two people. So I have to be able to share. And that's why we're relational beings. And sometimes we dismiss the importance of relationships. But healing doesn't occur outside of relationships. That's why people who terminate one relationship and stop it and then start a new one recognize or realize that wherever they stop is where they start. Because no matter what the work is, the process only happens with another human being. And we have to honor that.
Right.
I know it was something I in my lifetime, I've stopped and started many times finding myself in the exact same space that I stopped a process. And it didn't matter the length of time. It didn't matter if it was 4 years. It didn't matter if it was 6 months. It didn't matter if it was 5 or more years. Wherever you stop is where you enter back into that relationship with yourself and others. Right. And so if people, say, oh, I'm going to terminate a relationship like a marriage or a dating relationship because I'm not ready and I need to work on some stuff. You go work on stuff and then you come back right into the same. And you're thinking to yourself, how did this happen?
Right.
How am I exactly where I stopped and I did all this work? Because relationships are required in order to make progress and movement. It's one of the hardest things that we need to accept. People will argue with it, spend years arguing with it, and then find themselves right at that place.
Right.
And I've learned to wait and be patient with the people that seek assistance and healing and help from me, because You have to get out of your own way.
Mhm.
You have to get out of your own way.
That's good.
What does it mean to get out of your own way? The best way to start that conversation is if the very thing, and I'll say this to anybody, the very thing that you say you don't want to do is the very thing that you need to do. It is the place to start.
Mhm.
It is the, when someone comes to me and says, I don't think we need to talk about that because I've already done it. That's my place.
Yeah.
That's the place where I'm going to say, well, let's talk some more about that. Let's introduce, well, why do we have to do that? Because I think it's necessary,
Mhm.
right? So when you find yourself at this space where you say, I don't think I need to do that.
Mhm.
Forgiveness is not my issue. The moment that you say, hey, that ain't what I need to do,
Right.
that's probably where you need to start.
Mhm.
It never fails.
Mhm.
It never fails. I think I can almost say 100% of the time.
Mhm.
And then people kind of go, they walk out disappointed going, well, I thought that I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but that's where we are.
Right.
And this is where we're starting. And so I think don't do it by yourself. The very thing that you think you conquer is probably the place where you need to start. And then you see, and I think the other thing that people absolutely hate, and it's so cliche, is stillness. Be still.
We don't know how to do that at all.
Because you think therapy is the answer, medicine is the answer,
Right.
Procedures are the answer. No, you even in those processes, what I need you to do is be still.
Mm-hmm.
If you were going to be still 5 minutes today, just be still. Daydream a little bit. Think about the things you don't want to think about, and process through those and take notes, take notes on them.
Mm-hmm.
Write down your thoughts or feelings, no matter how minuscule or trivial or important you think they are. Write it down.
Mm-hmm.
Write it down because sometimes we don't know that we're blessed unless you keep a diary. That God answers every prayer, but you won't know it because you'll forget about it. You'll forget until you strumming through your journal. Like I'll sit right here and strum through my journal and be like, "Oh, I prayed about that," and God fixed it.
Yes.
And so that's one of the how to start the healing journey.
Okay. So stillness, relationships, and start where you don't want to start. Basically,
that's your inventory. That's the quickest assessment. I mean, you can always come to me and we can find a different place or part of the story, but usually your self-assessment is like, okay, what are some of the things that you've already conquered, some things you've already done? And then be like, oh, well, no, I don't really need to write that down. That's the thing you need to write down.
Let's work on this.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I want to kind of dissect these things real quick that you talked about. The first one is relationships. Don't do it alone. The question I want to ask you guys is, do you have someone in your life who can walk with you through your healing process? Do you have? I just want to leave y'all a second to think about it. It's either yes or no. Do you have someone in your life that can walk with you through your healing process? And if the answer is no, then I want to ask, do you really need to be healed in an area? And if so, what is your coping strategy that you're utilizing? Because usually it is reaching out or it's pulling back. It's either we reach out or we pull back.
Well, I want to turn that to us. Do you have somebody?
I do.
And my thing is how they come about. Because I know that I was like all other African American women. You can't trust women. And I just get along with men better.
Right.
And then I just came to find that ain't the truth. It's not. It's just not a truth. But it was painful to deal with, right? And I think there were some women you can't trust. There are some people you absolutely cannot trust. Right? But then there are absolutely some women that you could trust with your life. Everything that you got, you could give it. And they're going to be right there. You can call them anytime.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so my thing is, what about you? How did that come about? Because there are women, there were some people who betrayed me.
Oh, yeah.
And the interesting thing about the biggest betrayal was I remember this particular person saying to me,